What's up, co-reporters, and welcome back to my channel. Meghan Markle's estranged half-sister Samantha Markle is now seeking to appeal a judgment that a judge made in regards to a defamation lawsuit that she filed against Meghan Markle. So basically, Samantha sued Meghan, claiming that Meghan defamed her when she said that she grew up an only child, basically. Samantha felt offended by that because she feels as though they grew up together, even though that is not materially true. And she also accused Meghan of accusing her of being a fame seeker. So today I'm joined by Dmitry Shaknovich of DShack Law here on YouTube. Dmitry, thank you so much for joining me. How are you? It's been a while.
I am good. Yes, it's been a while. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you too. This is amazing to have you back on the channel. So I kind of want to ask you to give us the rundown on what exactly defamation is and how you feel like either of those statements that Meghan Markle made could be potentially defamatory towards Samantha if you were Samantha's lawyer and trying to win some of this money for her, $75,000 to be exact.
You know, in this country, we have the First Amendment, right? The First Amendment says anybody could say anything they want at any time they want for any reason. Yeah. Obviously, over time, there have been numerous exceptions carved out to that general rule, right? And typically, those exceptions have to do with harm, violence, propensity to commit violent acts, right? And honesty, right? Mm-hmm. And defamation is one of those exceptions, right? So the law of defamation says that, again, generally speaking, that if somebody makes a false statement of fact, right? A false statement of fact that harms another individual, then that is actionable. You can sue for that, assuming you can prove damages. Now, that's the general defamation law. And then as you get deeper into it, there are further kind of subsections of that law. For example, if you can prove that the defamatory statement was targeted at somebody's profession or line of work, then you're entitled to what they call presumed damages, statutory damages. You don't really have to prove damages, right? Mm-hmm. And over time, the law has developed to say that if defamatory statements are made about public figures, we need special rules for that, because otherwise celebrities would sue people all the time, right? And the idea is that if you put yourself in the public forum and you deem yourself a public figure, then you're exposed more than private folks. Mm-hmm. And so what the law did there is it said, well, if you're a public figure or the comment is something that is noteworthy, then you can't sue unless you prove what is called actual malice. You have to prove that the person making the statement knew it was false, or at least, depending on where you are in the country, had what they call a reckless disregard for the truth. Right. Mm-hmm. So this particular case would fall under that category, right? There are several elements here that have to be satisfied, and that is what the appeal is targeted towards.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of harm could someone suffer if an estranged relative of theirs says that they didn't actually grow up together?
So like any civil lawsuit, assuming the damages aren't presumed, meaning courts won't just issue a damage amount, and even then, some proof is required. You have to prove damages. You have to show how you've been hurt by certain things. And that can be proven by basically harm to reputation, right? Showing that you lost money, your business lost money in some form because of this, which in a case like this can be deemed difficult, right? But that's not the issue, right? The issue as it relates to an appeal is whether or not this was a matter of opinion, right? Not a matter of fact. Again, defamation is only actionable if you make a factual statement. Opinions aren't actionable. That's why you can't sue somebody, for example, generally, for leaving a bad review for your business online, right? Because reviews are opinions. And so that's where this case will really turn, whether this was an opinion statement or a fact-based statement.
So when the judge handed down her ruling, she said that Meghan's statements could not be considered defamatory because they are, quote, substantially true based on judicially noticed evidence or not capable of being considered defamatory. And the judge said that Samantha failed to plausibly allege that they are defamatory in the first place. So another thing that Meghan had said in her Oprah interview that her sister Samantha took issue with was the fact that Meghan said that her sister Samantha only changed her last name back to Markle when Meghan herself started dating Prince Harry. So she didn't outright call her sister a fame seeker, but she kind of let people put two and two together with that. And so Samantha tried to get some damages for that, but the judge said basically the plaintiff used one last name when the name Markle, and then the name Markle soon after reports of the defendant's relationship with Prince Harry were published, and that is substantially true. So based on the exhibits in the record of which the court has taken judicial notice. So basically on both ends, on the first statement, they're saying, okay, well, the evidence proves that Meghan was raised as an only child. You know, she and Samantha are only half sisters. There's about 13, 14-year difference between the two of them. Meghan's dad was the same dad as Samantha's, but they had different moms. And so when Meghan's mom and dad split, she was with her mom mainly, you know, and then she proved that the sister did change the last name and everything like that. So Samantha wants to appeal this ruling. If you were her lawyer, would you counsel her to appeal this ruling? Do you think it's worth it? It's actually something that she can win in the long run?
From what I know, no. Because again, all of these sound like factual statements that are either true or based in opinion. Right, so you have to be careful to parse out what is an opinion and what is a fact being kind of paraded out as an opinion. You understand? So if I say, for example, that I think Grace has blonde hair, that could be, I phrase that as if it's my opinion, but it's not. It's a factual statement that I'm making that I'm trying to disguise as an opinion. Right? The law of defamation has a hard time dealing with that kind of thing because it's difficult sometimes. Obviously, I gave you an extreme example to emphasize what I'm trying to prove, but generally speaking, right, the law is difficult as it relates to that. So when it comes to a lot of these statements, right, what the judge is saying is, look, either they're true or they're opinions. They're certainly not fact, and or rather false statements of fact. And let's not forget, in order to win an appeal, what you have to really prove is that the judge made a real error in the law. I mean, there are fancy ways of saying it, but a real error in the law. Appeals very rarely succeed, and they don't succeed and aren't supposed to succeed in questionable issues, right? If the fact finder, meaning a judge or a jury in other cases, makes a certain ruling or returns a verdict, the idea is you can't appeal it because you don't agree with it. That's the whole point. You have to appeal it only because there's some defect in the proceeding. And that'll be tough to show in a case like this.
I agree. By the way, you guys, if you're just joining us, I'm here with Dmitry Shaknovich of DShack Law. Make sure to subscribe to his channel on YouTube if you haven't already. He provides his legal opinion on a variety of topics, and you definitely don't want to miss out on that. I've tagged his channel in the title of this video and in the description as well. Now, let's talk about Kate Middleton and where she comes into play. So in her seeking for an appeal, Samantha Markle is saying that she wants to have a witness testimony from Kate Middleton vis-a-vis her own experiences with Meghan Markle. So I'm wondering, what relevance does that play? Because the whole issue is that Meghan said these two statements on an Oprah interview. So is it actually appropriate? Is it actually possible to hassle Kate Middleton into providing a statement? How would she even have access to Kate Middleton? I'm kind of lost on that one.
Well, that's all. Those are all procedural issues. As it relates to an appeal, right? The whole point of an appeal is, by law, really, to appeal issues that are what are called in the record, right? Issues that were before the fact finder at the time of the ruling of the case, right? You can't bring in new evidence. Right? The whole point of an appeal is to restrict the arguments to what happened during the case. Right? Bringing in new evidence is a different kind of thing. You can't really do that on an appeal, right? Because the issues preserved for appeal must have been preserved in the underlying case. So you can't really bring in new evidence in an appeal. Courts generally won't allow that. What you would have to do is you would have to really file a new case alleging new evidence. There are ways to challenge a prior ruling, but I would imagine they wouldn't go that route. There are potential time limit issues and other things. I assume if they want to do anything, they would have to file a new case and expose themselves to other issues if they do that, because they already lost the case. So modifying it a little bit and filing it again could expose you to court sanctions and other things. So it's a tough call to make. I can't see something like this prevailing on an appeal.
So how would this work? If she attempted to have a motion or something like that, to have Kate Middleton compelled to give some sort of a witness testimony, would a judge be able to intervene on that so that it wouldn't even happen? Because as you're saying, it's not really something they can do, introduce new evidence?
Well, assuming they would even be able to get it done, I'm assuming the appellate decision would simply say this issue was not before us and therefore isn't preserved for appeal, or some variety of that language, and therefore we're not even going to look into it. And that's likely what will happen, should she even be able to get this done here.
So in your opinion, based on what you're hearing about this case and everything like that, what is the main motivator of clients like this, where they come with such flimsy lawsuits for things where they haven't really suffered any sort of damage? They're running to the press, giving interviews and stuff. Like, what do you call these kinds of clients? Like, what is the main motivator here, in your opinion?
Well, look, that's something I can't answer because I don't know. And to be quite honest, I don't know about the strength of the case. Maybe it was something that, had merit. Proving the case is a different story, right? She wasn't able to prove the case here. And appealing a case, what the audience has to remember is an appeal isn't designed to challenge a decision that you don't agree with, right? That's not how the courts work. The system in this country isn't designed to work that way. It likes finality, right? It likes cases ending at a certain point, right? An appeal is designed to challenge an erroneous portion of the record, right? Some mistake that was made by a judge in an evidentiary ruling or something like that, or a egregious misapplication of the law, right? It's not designed to challenge a disagreeable decision. And it seems like that's what's happening here. And it's very hard to, in general, win defamation cases. It's even harder to win defamation cases when dealing with public figures. It's even harder to win defamation cases when you're on appeal. Virtually impossible.
So with that in mind, money, let's talk money. So celebrities, I imagine they get sued very often because a lot of people are looking for a payday. They imagine these people have a lot of money. So for someone like Meghan in this case, would she be able to file to recoup her legal fees or anything like that? Is that an automatic thing that happens when someone loses a defamation or whatever kind of civil case against you?
No. So in the United States, everybody pays for their lawyers, right? That's the system we have. Elsewhere in the world, if you win a lawsuit or you defeat a lawsuit, you may be entitled to legal fees. That's not how it works in this country. In this country, it's possible that you may win legal fees, assuming somebody files a frivolous lawsuit, meaning a lawsuit that has no basis in law or fact. But that's very rare. You would have to prove real egregious conduct to win legal fees. Because look, in this country, we like our lawsuits, right? We like people suing, and we don't like dissuading folks from suing. And that would dissuade folks from suing. And it would also, obviously, limit access that poor people have to the courts, because then they wouldn't sue, right? Because then they would be afraid if they lose, then the other side would collect legal fees. So there are a whole bunch of reasons for why that's the case. But no, generally speaking, you don't win legal fees unless it's very obvious that you filed a lawsuit for some other motive.
Do you think that this lawsuit could fall into that category as frivolous or filed for some other motive?
From what I know about it, I don't think so. There are some statements that were made that could be argued, right? The question is, could this be argued to be a real case? That's the question, not whether or not it's a good case. That's not the question. The question is, could somebody looking at these facts say, oh, okay, there could be something there. Doesn't mean we'll win, but there could be something there. If you can say yes to that, then really legal fees won't be afforded. If you look at a lawsuit and say, look, this is complete nonsense, and there's no way in any world this would win, then at that point you explore those kinds of questions.
Okay. Listen, that's an interesting way to spend money at the end of the day. Good luck to Samantha Markle moving forward. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out to see how all of this unfolds. And if there are any more updates on this, I definitely will be reaching out to you, Dimitri. Hopefully you'll be available for that. Dimitri, can you give everyone a little bit of a heads up on what you've got going on your channel or anything like that? Are you covering the Diddy lawsuits, by the way? I haven't looked.
I am. I've done a ton of Diddy lawsuit interviews. There are some on my YouTube channel if you want to take a look. That's a whole crazy set of circumstances. So I am covering that. And my YouTube channel, as you mentioned, is youtube.com/DShackLaw. People want to take a look. You'll see a whole bunch of interesting stuff, or at least I think it's interesting. And obviously, I am around. If you want to reach out to me, ask any questions, my email's all over the place. Feel free to do it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dimitri. And like you said, you guys definitely make sure to check out his channel. I've tagged it in the title of this video. I've linked it in the description. Make sure to support him. He really covers all of like the hot, everything that's happening right now. And you even cover older cases as well, I've seen, right?
I cover a whole lot, whatever interests me, which is a whole lot.
Awesome. Thank you again, Dimitri. And thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to let us know all your thoughts and opinions about this wild lawsuit in the comments section down below. And as usual,